how useless palm trees are. I think they are the worst freaking tree in existence. Shane doesn't seem to think so. I don't know why, but he needs to see the light. And quite frankly, so do any of you who disagree with me. You know what really gets me the most is when people try to decorate palm trees with Christmas lights.
Love that.
No. Every time you meet someone and you exchange info, you also take a selfie with them and you send them that selfie in the text immediately. So when you go to follow up later, there's a photo of you. So it does a few things. All right. Hello, 1%ers, and welcome back to the 1% podcast. I am your host, Vin and
Shane.
And we are here today to talk about a few very important things. One of them being networking and the importance of it. You've probably heard sayings such as your network is your net worth. I, however, am much more of a fan of the bigger, more important lesson my mentor taught me, which is relationships are rocket ships, and they will take you everywhere and anywhere you want to go.
Love that.
We also have something that is equally important to talk about, which is how... I'm sorry? It is not debatable how useless palm trees are. I think they are the worst freaking tree in existence. Shane doesn't seem to think so. I don't know why, but he needs to see the light. And quite frankly, so do any of you who disagree with me.
So, well, I like how you changed the question, because originally it was, I just hate palm trees and this is why. But now it's the usefulness of them. So I'm going to let Vin go on his tangent here because I feel like I already have my complete opposite opposing, agreement here. If there was a judge, which you guys will be the judge here, I feel like it would be heavily favored on my side, but let's hear Vin out here.
And that's fine, right? Because usually we see this often. People are split and usually half the people are wrong. And we could have that here today as well. That's fine. So, though I do agree, palm trees are utterly useless. They're also just an eyesore. I know they're supposed to be emblematic, but I don't know how. With their droopy leaves, their usefulness is just non-existent. What are they doing? They're these long stem things. First up, you know what really gets me the most? Is when people try to decorate palm trees with Christmas lights.
Love that.
No.
Absolutely.
First up, unacceptable. I might as well just kill Christmas right there. Why even bother to have one if you're going to do that?
Kill Christmas, really?
Kill Christmas.
Because people are putting lights on palm trees, just Christmas is out the door.
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
That's not Christmas. Christmas is supposed to be a nice pine tree, a little bit of snow perhaps, Jack Frost nipping at your nose, not palm trees and coconuts.
This is so, debatable on this point. Like maybe in, New York and in the East Coast where you're at, it's all about pine trees and Jack Frost. But, what about our fellows in Hawaii or California where palm trees are everywhere? And that's their pine trees right there. What if they don't have access to that?
That's not even a good idea. They should actually just get better trees. Because the reality is, and this isn't even me now, this is actually science speaking, is that palm trees don't really do much for the environment. They don't remove toxins. They barely provide oxygen. They give no shade. What is the friggin' point of these things, aside from being an eyesore to me and anybody else who agrees that palm trees are useless and ugly and should just completely be wiped off the face of the earth?
So as far as their oxygen ability, I'd probably agree with you, right? The main point of palm trees reminds you of vacation, of simpler times. It's nice and easy. The trees waving in the breeze, like that's what it reminds me of, is simpler, easy times, right? It's always on the beach somewhere, something tropical, or, back home in Palm Springs or in Southern California, the palm trees are everywhere. It's just beautiful. And when you get them all trimmed up and lined up nice, it looks really elegant, really nice. Now there's thousands of things that are useless to this planet, yet we still love them because of the way we look. Especially nowadays, people buy things because of the way they look. It's crazy how much people spend money on crap that is useless, but they like the way they look. And that's what a palm tree is. Now, you could decorate my palm tree with thousands of lights, and next time you come over, even when it's not Christmas, I'm going to purposely decorate my palm trees. They're in my front with lights, just to be like, Vid, welcome. So glad you came.
I will be sure to bring an axe and spare you from that terrible, terrible
Yeah.
disease you call palm trees.
Oh, I'm gonna bring some
I
pineapple pizza too, buddy.
I bet. See, this is what's wrong with society. We have people that enjoy palm trees and pineapple pizza, two things that shouldn't exist, not only in the same sentence, but at all. Period.
They belong to each other, man. That's it. I have to bring it back in Hawaii too. Like pineapple pizza, that's a staple out there. Pine trees. See, you got me on pine trees kicks over here. Palm trees, pineapple pizza, some coconut water. Forget about it.
See, it's great because you just realized that pine trees are actually better. That's why it slipped into your vocabulary. You're like, yeah, we should have pine trees, and I can't agree more because
Pine
palm
trees,
trees are ugly and useless.
pine trees are a nuisance, man. You got
A
sap,
lot
and
of
don't get me wrong. I'll have a Christmas tree in my house, for those 2 to 3 weeks
no,
during
no.
the holidays.
You're not allowed anymore, sir. If you're gonna believe that palm trees are better, I want to see. You better send me a photo later with a palm tree in your living room with Christmas lights on it.
You know what? Don't tempt me with a good time because that might actually happen. That'd be a good idea, a new tradition that's going to start. We may
Do
have
it.
started something here. The funny thing is, I don't know where I would put the ornaments on there, so I might have to nail gun in some ornaments to the palm tree.
Yet another reason palm trees suck.
Oh gosh. Well, I think more importantly, networking is way more of a better topic than palm trees. But I will say, Vin, you came with a pretty compelling argument here today.
Thank you, sir. We'll let the audience decide on this one, and if they're smart, they'll choose my argument. So let's definitely get into networking today. You and I recently we were at David Meltzer's Offers Hours shows, and there was just a lot of amazing high level people there. There are people that have sold billions of dollars on infomercials. There are people that are world renowned speakers. There are people that are world renowned investors and have multi-billion-dollar exits from companies. I mean, the people at this event were spectacular. But it's also very interesting because when you get into these higher level rooms, the interactions tend to be different too. Very few of the interactions that I had come across in there were strictly about business. And I don't
Mhm.
know if you've noticed that. The business usually comes at a certain point, but I've noticed that a lot of the time it's more about genuine interest in other people. What was your experience through it all?
Yeah, so I've been networking. Man, I started out at BNIs and chambers, and worked way up with my success in my business, getting into these bigger rooms. But it really is about your elevator pitch, and if people are actually interested in what you have to say, they ask more questions, and you could tell within the first 30 to 45 seconds if this is somebody that is actually going to be interested in you or not.
Hmm.
And that's kind of how I actually treat these things. I mean, when you go to these events and you have 30, 40, 50 people and you're either at a dinner or a meeting, you don't have all the time in the world. You're right. So you really have to treat this as a business,
Hmm.
as a quick little interaction to get their information if they're interested or to not. And that's what I think I've learned at these quick 5-10 minute meetings, unless they're really interested and you want to set some more relationship and do some more discovery right then and there. But when I used to do it, I'd sit there with somebody for 30, 45 minutes, even if I knew they're going to be no benefit to me or my business. And that's what I think has transitioned my mindset, and I think that's what these higher end people do as well,
Hmm.
is that I don't have time. I don't. Like, my time is so valuable right now.
Sure.
Like, the fact that I had to take out these 4 hours to, do the TV show and to do meet and greet for 2 hours and then, go to a dinner for another 2 hours. Like, it carves out a lot of my time that I could be meeting with clients, bettering my company or my sales reps, or spending time with the family. So now that I'm a very busy man, I have to maximize that potential. And I
Right.
think that's what I do. Um, so those are my little quick tips and tricks. What about you?
I actually tend to do a mix of both. I like to similarly meet as many people as I can, right? And I'll go up to them and I would be like, "Hey, Shane, like, nice to meet you. My name's Vin. What do you do? Or what are you excited about in life?" And we'll get, that quick tidbit. And then I like to transition it into more of that second question of what are you really excited about? And I do that because it's a unique question. When, for instance, when's the last time somebody asked you, what are you really excited about right now in life?
Well, if it wasn't for Dave, I would say, it never happens. But Dave is, pretty passionate about those questions too.
Of course.
Yep.
And that's one of the great things, right? Because what it does is it gets you talking. Ultimately, the best way to build connection with other people is to get them to talk about themselves, not about you. So I like to get more people that I'm connecting with to be interested somewhat in themselves, which then ultimately makes me more interesting because I'm more interested in them. So they're interested in the fact that I'm interested.
Mhm.
And it allows for easier connection. And then as I kind of go around and I meet a few other people, I always like to circle back to the person that gave me the most interesting answer of what they're excited about in life.
Hmm.
Because
Interesting.
then that's where I'll go and have a longer conversation and see what kind of depth I might want to build with that person. But I also similarly like to try and schedule things pretty quickly. Like within a week of meeting people, I think it's super important. If you felt like you clicked with them or you liked them or you wanted to meet with them, within a week, you should have a call on the schedule because connections fade fast, especially at events because you're meeting so many people, you're doing so many things, and you have a very small window to actually be memorable to that person,
100%.
whether you realize it or not. And then one of the greater pieces of advice I ever got was from another mentor of mine, where he said every time you meet someone and you exchange info, you also take a selfie with them and you send them that selfie in the text immediately.
Hmm.
So when you go to follow up later, there's a photo of you. So it does a few things. Is one, it increases response rate because it's a lot harder to reject someone whose face you remember.
Hmm.
Two, it also, even that, it jogs the memory. So now they could actually recall why they connected with you in the first place by you even just saying hi. And three, it is one of the better ways to show interest in other people. You're like, hey, we're going to take a selfie together. Come here. And all of a sudden, they start feeling a little bit more warmth and a little bit more fun and connection from you.
Hmm.
So these are some of the bigger things I've learned that have really helped me take my ability to grow my network and connect with people to another level.
And just so you guys understand, Vin and I were, I showed him on my phone. I was like, I got these amazing 5 contacts here. Very excited. And Vin one ups me, and he shows me this list that he had to scroll up. And he's like, "Look how many I got." And Vin's a master networker, which is phenomenal for you. And I still feel like I'm kind of learning that, still trying to get out of my comfort zone. I think another great tip that I got is outside of just being in your comfort zone is if you're at a dinner, you never sit at a table with people you just talked to.
Mm,
You always go to a table that you don't know anybody about because that's another whole other group of potential customers, candidates, relationships, whatever it might be. And I love that. I've utilized that to this day. And oddly enough, that's actually how Vin and I met was at a dinner table.
yep.
And, it was love at first sight. Um, so yeah, I think networking is so crucial and it's really easy to get comfortable being behind the camera, being behind the scenes and at your computer and, not growing, even if, and that's to be honest, that's what I've learned personally is I run successful businesses and I'm a successful investor and I'm used to being behind the screen. And I had to get out of this element to because I'm bottlenecking myself to be more successful. And the people that you meet, unbelievable. It really is phenomenal. Like if you think you're being successful, there is 100 other people in just one room that has surpassed what you could even imagine. And that's what I love about it too. If you're the
Yep.
smartest or the most successful guy in the room, you're in the wrong freaking room.
100%. There's actually something interesting that I learned recently from my speaking coach. And somebody was asking, so we're in a mastermind together, right? And somebody was asking in that room, they said, hey, how did you start getting some of the connections you got? Because my coach, he's a world-renowned speaker now. He's like a celebrity speaker, gets paid 50K or more for a speech. Like he's phenomenal. And some really interesting advice that he gave that I never considered. So you, Shane, you might like this. Our listeners might love this. And they said very high level people, they don't need much. right? Like they usually have a lot of resources. They could buy anything they want. They could get whatever they need. Pretty much, they have the connections, they have the resources, they have the opportunity. So, what you want to do before you go meet someone is you want to do research on them, because the best way to get into people's network is to provide value to them that they don't have themselves already. So there's only a few real ways to do that. Is one, know what they need, because high performing successful people don't want to tell you what they need.
Mm,
They already have things that they're working on, that they're figuring out. They want to have somebody come up to them and be like, "Oh, hey Shane, I heard on that last podcast you were on that you were struggling with this thing. I have a solution for you."
mm,
So now they're impressed, because it's like, how does this guy already know the problem I'm struggling with and have an answer for it? So now they're curious. That's the best way you could actually get in with somebody who you believe is at a crazy high level that doesn't need much from anyone. Number two is, in addition to doing research, see if you could create something genuine for them. Like, again, they could buy whatever. So if you're going to give them a gift, like you could give them a Rolex, it might not mean anything. But what if you got them something like their favorite football player? You found an autographed piece of equipment and you gifted it to them.
mm.
That will mean 10,000 times more than bringing them a high value, quote unquote, high quality gift, because it shows you have a genuine interest. And in the world of networking and in the world of building strong, powerful connections, what you really want to show is genuine interest in others. And I'm not saying fake it so that you can get in the door. I'm saying legitimately care. Like, why should Shane want to be my friend? Or why do I want Shane to be my friend? What do I think he has? Like, what makes him a magnetic person? Or why would I love him to become a valued member of my circle, my community, my inner sanctum, right? And then when you start looking at things like that, you could start appealing to people a little bit more. And so these are some really crazy, in my opinion, good pieces of advice that I never even considered. I don't know, Shane, if you've ever considered that, any of our listeners, but it was pretty revolutionary to me.
Is something as small as David Meltzer. I don't think I actually told you this too. I opened a 1986 football tops box in the hunt for the Jerry Rice card,
Mm,
which in a PSA 10, a graded 10 is $60,000, right? And Warren Moon is also a rookie in 1986, and David loves Warren Moon. I think that was one of his first biggest clients was Warren Moon, and I actually gave him one of the Warren Moon rookie cards. Not worth a lot of money, but he absolutely loved it. So it's just those little things. When I first became David Meltzer's client, he sent me a Cutco knife. I don't think it was really him. It was probably his assistant, but it had a little card in it saying, just thank you and I appreciate you. And it just meant the world. I wasn't expecting this. It just came to my door, and it honestly just, was like, wow, thank you. He cares. So I love the aspect of gifts.
mm,
Now, as far as doing information, when I was on that show, I did research on every single person that was in the panel, and I rehearsed everything to make sure that I was on top of it. I even bought a Burn the Boats book, which I'm on chapter 2 already, and I love it. And Matt Higgins was the author of Burn the Boats, phenomenal guy. And now we were DMing each other. And, it's just because I bought the book and it was memorable. And he actually reached out to me, which is crazy because I don't have a lot of followers on Instagram, but I feel like, it might lead somewhere. We'll
mm.
see what happens. I have no expectations that came out of it, but I was really interested on his book from what a post said about it. I bought it. No intentions of wanting to get him as a client or utilizing him for anything. I just was genuinely interested. And just because of that, he reached out to me. Out of the other thousands, tens of thousands of people who have bought his book, it's just those simple little things. It's really what takes it to the next level. Genuine interest.
Yeah.
So absolutely great advice.
And it's actually, there's something interesting in there too, is that people can sense, right? We can feel when somebody's being genuine or when somebody's just trying to get around us because of what we have and who we could potentially intro them to and things like that. And so you have to learn to really be so much less focused than on yourself. And
Mm.
I think it's even more important today, now more than ever, because a lot of people are going to start getting left behind, because it's going to become extremely evident who's more focused on themselves than who's focused on service and being a part of this world and genuinely connecting with others because of the advance of AI. Now, like for instance, I'm in another mastermind group, and it's interesting because this guy put in there, hey, check this out. He was showing an app to the group where basically it takes you and it clones you and it makes you into an AI, and it uses your voice, and you don't even have to shoot videos and create content anymore. Now some people are like, this is great, and for a moment I was like, wow, this is sick. Like, I could do this and not have to sit here and shoot content. That's phenomenal. But then I thought about, why would I sit there and not create content?
Mm.
Who is the content for if I'm just sitting there and AI generating it? And it really got me thinking, am I just trying to create content for myself so that I could make some money and so that I can ultimately save myself time? And don't get me wrong, like as business owners, we should utilize our time wisely and we should do best practices. But if you're genuinely trying to do something for other people, which is what my content is aimed at, I think it's important that I give my spirit in it. I think it's important that I put my human touch into it. And then I'm
That's
not sitting there trying to delegate out myself and my message to others to a robot. And so I had to kind of come back to that conclusion, because we are getting into this age now where everything is starting to be AI integrated. You really don't know at this point what is real or what's not, but I can guarantee that the things that are going to stand out in the future society, maybe when our kids are growing up, maybe even past that, I don't know what's going to happen with society, but the things that are going to stand out most are the things that are still touched by humans, because everything is going to become so artificial that everyone is going to look for real, genuine connection, which you will only find in your personal touch.
And I feel like that's why it's so important to start now. Like if you're 65, 70, which shockingly we have, a lot of people even in those masterminds and shows and meetups that we go to that are, in that age bracket, there's
Mm,
no late time to start. If you need to build connection and build rapport, there's never a late time. But it's a skill set, and it's a dying skill set, which is crazy to say that people prefer texting over having a phone conversation. Or, they prefer not showing their camera because they don't want to, you know, show the world how they look like, or whatever it may be.
yeah.
Like, it's dying, Ben, and it's crazy. I think that should be another whole podcast episode, is AI and how you can best utilize it, because my company currently uses it for certain minuscule things,
Mm,
but weighing the advantages of human interaction versus robot, hopefully will be around for a long time, because AI, really all it stands for is laziness. If somebody can do something that I don't have to do anything for, and it's going to make me money, why wouldn't I choose that? And if you really have that mentality, especially for the next 10 to 15 to 20 years, it's going to replace a lot of things. I don't know if you've been to restaurants where you see the robots that actually, take your food to you, and you
yep.
can pay right there. Grocery stores at the self checkout, just imagine how more advanced it's going to be. Um, it's unfortunate, but
Mhm.
unfortunately, that's the mindset that we have right now, is the simplistic, easy lifestyle. So I hope
Yeah.
that humans make a shift.
Well, I think that that's a big part of it too, right? I think it really is the genuine connection versus not, ultimately. And you're right. We'll make the next episode. Anyone who's listening, we'll make the next episode AI. So come back for that one especially. And I think the biggest thing is we're looking at it right now, and it's people are forgetting that AI is supposed to be an enhancer. It's not supposed to replace. Now, maybe it would be good. Like I was sitting here the other day, I was thinking, honestly, like I used to be a firefighter. I think that job should be replaced. I think it should be 100% robots, because it destroys people's bodies.
But where does it stop from there then? I agree with you, but then where does it stop? Like
Well,
police
that's
force, government, you know?
right. Well, that's the thing, right? We have to figure that stuff out. It's here to stay. It's going to advance. And I'm sure that a lot of the jobs, such as like firefighter or maybe even trash, right? The trash cleanup, the Department of Sanitation, probably police at some point. Who knows? I could see construction being replaced, and it's interesting too because all of these things would be more efficient and make humans' lives better. But then there's the other side of it is even though that is true because you're going to have less people dying from fires or being firefighters, you're going to have less people with broken bodies from construction, you're going to have less people worn out and over exhausted from being a cop, right? And these are all beneficial things. However, it's like, well, what do we do with all the people then? So I
That's a
mean,
diff-
this will be the AI topic.
that's a whole episode, absolutely. Yeah. I sticking on to the genuine connections though. You really need to, if you guys are struggling with that, just like Meltzer gave those tips to, actually, you weren't there on that one, but if you're really struggling for that, reach out, have a phone call with somebody, make the first move. Don't wait for anybody to make things happen, especially in business. You control your life, you control your business, you control everything revolving around you. You make out.
I love it. So I would say my final thought on this before we wrap up today is actually a book recommendation. If you really this is what started me off in learning how to network because I used to I still am to some degree a very introverted person. I just turn it on when I need it. I honestly prefer to be at home with my family,
Same.
inside, playing video games, going to the gym. I like being alone. I love being alone. But there is a massive power in friendships and networking and doing it genuinely. And the biggest thing that got me off on the right foot was reading the book, which probably many of you have already heard of, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. One of the best books that you could ever buy, invest, and read in to just learn how to really get in touch with others in a more genuine way. So
I
that's my
absolutely.
closing remark.
There's another book called The Wavy Palm Tree. I'd recommend getting that one. I'm
gonna actually Google if there's a book called The Wavy Palm Tree.
There's not, but that would be funny if there was one. Yeah, I think this was a fantastic episode. Short and quick. We look forward to seeing you guys on the next one. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Stay tuned. We have more great things. And if you guys are curious about how to get involved with either of us, you can email me at vincent@vincentinfante.life. You could email him at shane@the VA group, or you could go check out my Instagram is Vin.Infante and his is Shane. What's your Instagram?
It's a secret. No,
it's just, he's got no Instagram.
Shane Riggs, I think. I don't know. No, there's to be honest, if you've made it this far into the podcast here, you've already seen our Instagrams and our website. But follow the 1% podcast.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today. We'll talk to you soon. Back on the 1%.
Bye, guys.